Okay, we're back again for the final video in our 2025 wasn't good to me. And again, this is one that it's a lot to be said, so I'm going to read it like I did before, and I thank you for your patience with that. But it's a good way for me to remember everything I want to say. So, October to November 2025. Our big trip back to Thailand, and it was booked for the 12th of October 2025. It would have been at that time the first trip back that we'd made in 3 years, and we were very excited. We loved Thailand. We loved traveling Thailand. And over the years we've done it once or twice a year. This last time, well, if you go back to COVID, we missed out on 2 years then because of COVID. We went back in 2022. While we were there, decided to get a puppy. And we decided, okay, right, we're going to get a puppy, but we won't come back to Thailand for that whole year. We'll give the puppy time to grow a little. Then it turned out the following year I got the vasculitis in the legs and couldn't travel. And then I had to wait a year to be able to be eligible to get pre-existing medical insurance, because you have to wait 1 year since you last saw a specialist. And because I've got 3 specialists, it's hard juggling that. So that was the plan. So 3 years, very excited. And I'll start to read this now, and it might make sense. Otherwise I'll scrap the video. I did the usual by discussing the trip with my neurologist, and he gave me a check over and agreed I was fit to fly. I had just turned 70 in September 2025, so, this time was getting on. And I'll also just tell you too that that I think it was when we were in the planning stages of this. I did kind of think that this might be my last trip because, as I said in the previous video, I'd had a couple of episodes and it unnerved me somewhat. As normal, the first thing I do after booking the flights is to buy pre-existing medical travel insurance. I use an insurance here called One Cover, and they are the only ones up until just recently, but they were the only ones I ever found who would cover C.A.A. Let's have a look. They have been the only insurer I have found over the years who cover C.A.A. I fill out the application with complete and truthful answers so that there's no reason to find out down the track I did something wrong and I'm not covered. I check their full terms and conditions and make sure that I give them everything that they require me to give them, which, as I say, is to make sure they can't null and void my paperwork and the deal that I have with them if something was to happen. Let's have a look. Unfortunately, I never completely trust the travel insurers because, let's face it, insurance companies do not want to pay out if they can find the slightest loophole. I've used them many times and haven't needed to put in a claim as yet, so I'm not really sure, how well covered I would be at the end of the day. They have a very good rating, and so you can only do what you can do. I do all the checks and as best I can. The last time I went overseas was 2022, and the cost for normal travel insurance, for your suitcases and missed planes, etc., plus pre-existing medical condition, which included for C.A.A., at that time the cost was just under 1,200 Australian dollars. This time, and maybe it's because I just turned 70 years old, but the cost of the travel insurance and the pre-existing medical went from just under $1,200 to $3,110. I almost had a coronary and collapsed on the floor. But you have to do what you have to do if you want to go. You've got to tick all those boxes and make sure that you try your best to get fully covered, and you can only do as much as you believe you've done it all right. So it's it's a bit scary, and that was my first shock. We flew out from Adelaide in Australia direct to Malaysia, and then we changed planes and flew to Bangkok. I love Bangkok. We then travelled onto our final destination about an hour and a half from Bangkok. So there was no hiccups on the flight. Everything went fine. We booked into our hotel, and we get a great room, and we've stayed there many times before, never had a problem. Unfortunately, this time we discovered that I was now going to have a difficulty. Now, to get to the reception area, there's tons of steps you have to get up to get inside to get to the reception area. From there, they have 3 buildings, and we usually go in building number 2. And so there's you walk back to the sort of the back where the reception's finished, and you go out towards the other room. So, and there is a heap of steps down. Then you go across a courtyard, and you go loads of steps up, which then takes you into the building, and then to the lift. You can get to your room. All well and good. And we might do this 6 to 7 times a day. And I was having trouble before I went, because I've got a spinal problem as well. We were having problems with my back. Now, when we'd gone in 2020, we came home. We were going to go for 3 months. We stayed 8 weeks, and we had to come home because I had a spinal problem that I couldn't resolve. So we cut it short. Okay, let's just catch up, see where I am. We had to, let's have a look. Unfortunately, the time there was a problem, and one that we had failed to take into consideration was the steps. We had to cut our last trip short because of the extreme back problems I had. But since then, I've had physio and exercises over the 3 years, and we felt that we had mostly resolved the problem of my back. So we didn't feel that there would be a problem when we went back this time. But with the amount of steps, it suddenly became clear that it was going to be a big effort for me. If you were just going in once and coming out once. But we're in and out all day, lots of times, because, plus we walked. The first full day on the holiday, we went on our normal trek and spent a few hours standing and walking, and then the pain hit. The pain was very bad because I have a spinal problem, and we had thought we had it under control because of all the physio. But obviously we didn't. So we decided we would go to the reception desk and ask whether we could transfer from building 2 to building 1. Now, obviously, we still had the steps to get up to get into the reception, but then the lifts are there to take you to your room. So we felt that would be a much better option. But they were not very, they weren't forthcoming. They said, no, I can't tell. We don't know at the moment whether we've got any free rooms. Yeah, right. And, to come back in the evening. And then when we went in the evening, they said, come back tomorrow. But 11 o'clock tomorrow, we had to pay another night's accommodation because we only paid one. Because we had to go to the bank and get money out in time money. So, yeah. So they gave us a hard time. And suddenly we realised that, this, we're probably not going to get moved. And this is going to be an intolerable situation for me. So we decided then that we would actually check out, and go and find another room. So anyway, I stayed in the room. And my husband went off and he went to 3 or 4 different hotels, had a look at rooms, videotaped them, come back, and we chose one that we would go to. So we booked out, got a taxi, and went to hotel number 2. And just see where I'm up to here. Beep, 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 beep. Now, hotel number 2 turned out to be a third of the cost per night. So there was a bonus for a start. And a couple of steps, but nothing, nothing too bad. And so we did that. We settled in. Then each day, we get up early in the morning. And the one thing we like to do in Thailand, because Thailand doesn't usually wake up until midday. Their shops are all open late. Their bars are open late. People go to bed late. Therefore, the shops in the morning, the big shops I'm talking about, the malls, they don't open till like 11 o'clock in the morning. So between when we get up and when the malls are open or the shops are open, whatever, we find places to go and discover. So we walk all the time. We're forever walking. And we're usually out and about, walking around until about 1 o'clock. And then we go back and we have a nap so that we can, go out at night time and enjoy ourselves. And that's what we found was the problem, was I wasn't able to walk. Yes, there's Ubers, but I don't know. We didn't want to be Ubering from one place. Actually, it wasn't called Uber over there. But, that's not what we do. We like to walk and explore and all that stuff. Anyway, this trip we were only going to be there for 4 weeks. And boy, I suffered. Every minute that it would have been great if I could have been picked up and taken to where I wanted to go. And if we didn't care spending time in our room, or if we didn't care that we didn't walk, that would have been cool, because we had so much fun when we were at the places we wanted to go to. Like, I love karaoke. Karaoke is, that's my thing in Thailand. I'm a karaoke queen in Thailand. And, we love doing that. I love doing that. And, but it was getting there and then getting back. And I couldn't stand. And whereas even walking around the mall, because it's air conditioned, and seeing what's in this shop and what's in that shop, I couldn't even do that. I didn't even want to be in the place. I couldn't stand up. It was just bloody painful, and it was horrible. And we spent probably, of the 4 weeks we were there, I reckon, and it doesn't sound a lot, but I reckon we spent 3 or 4 days in the hotel room. You pay to get out. You pay to have that holiday. It just suddenly, I realized, what, we're not getting our money's worth. So, and I really started thinking very soon that, you thought this might be your last one. Well, I think that's the way it's going to have to be. Now, we had a favorite bar that we used to go to, actually, and the second favorite. And so we went to this second favorite bar one night, and it was early in the time we were there, and I had another hallucination. And it was weird because I'd been in that bar many, many times. And although I didn't know it every single, I knew what the formation of the tables and the chairs were. I knew where the mixer for the stage, for the music, where that's situated. I know where the door in and out, and there's another door in and out. And suddenly the doors were not in the same place. The mixer for the music was not where it's usually. The layout for the tables that had been that way when I walked in, they were no longer in that configuration. And again, I'm looking around just like, ooh, like I'm on drugs, and look at this. It's just, and that really freaked me out, because here we are now in the same year. And this is from December to October, this was now my 4th episode. And I'd never had that many in that shorter time before. So now I was really starting to worry, and 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 it was not until that moment, because each time I've been to Thailand, I've never had an episode. I never had anything happen that made me worry about going to the hospital. I've always had the greatest faith in their Butte hospitals, you know. And suddenly I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to have something major happen and I get carted off, and oh my God, I don't want this to happen. So now I'm thinking, if I ever get home, I definitely cannot come again. I definitely can never risk that again. Sorry. I'm in air conditioning and it's drying out my throat. So so now I'm really starting to get worried, you know. But the bar hallucination, and that probably lasted only about 10 minutes, but it was, it was freaky. So we only stayed there for a while, then we headed back to the hotel. Then the next problem we had, and this is nothing to do with C.A.A, and I don't even know what this is to do with. Suddenly, so this was about 3 days in, and we used to eat a lot of Thai food, and Thai food normally comes with rice, and it's a nice addition, and etc., etc. And we go in and we buy Thai green curry and rice, and I took one mouthful. Now, don't misinterpret what I'm about to say. It had nothing to do with the quality of the food. It was not food poisoning. So I had, no kidding, one mouthful, and with rice, so green curry with rice, and I felt like it got blocked, like, down about here, in my gut here. And I said to my husband, and then my mouth started watering, and I said, I think I'm going to be sick. Where's the toilets? I need to go to the toilet, because I really felt that I was going to be sick. And so we left and we went there. But it wasn't because of the food. It's like I had this blockage. It felt like it was stuck there. And for the whole day, I didn't eat. The next day, I decided, because I still had this feeling there. So I decided to go and find and when I say a restaurant, it's not a restaurant. They're like little shops that you get your food in, and like little cafes, or how you go to McDonald's, you got your seating area. It's like stuff like that, but it doesn't sell, but like not McDonald's, but where they sell a variety of food. So then it was like trying to find someone that had homemade soup, not soup out of a can, that I could have. So yes, I found one place. So we went there for a couple of days, and I just had soup, because it seemed to just go straight through, whereas if I ate a solid, it didn't. Then after a couple of days, I shifted to mashed potato and gravy, so I could put the gravy on the mashed potato. And then I ate a little small, and these are all small amounts as well. So small amounts, I did that. And then, so it probably was about the first week I virtually didn't eat, because I just, and then when I felt like I could eat again, even then I went to Thai green curry again, but it's very, I call it a juice, but it's the fluid that's in there. And so I drank the fluid, but didn't eat the chicken that was in there, didn't eat the vegetables that was in there, and stayed away. I never ate rice the whole rest of the time I was there. And then I got to this point where if I say I had chicken and cashew, so I would eat a small amount of the chicken and any juicy parts, but never a full portion size. And so that was like a difficulty in itself, and it took away a lot of pleasure, because when you're away, part of your pleasure is the eating, and eating with your partner or eating with friends, and suddenly that was gone as well. And I thought, you got to be kidding! Like, how come now everything seems to be just on this trip, just taking away all the excitement and the joy that you get from the. And then my husband's dragging me around trying to find me which restaurant or place to eat that's got soup. Okay, this place doesn't. You sit down, you go through the menu, and then you have to go again. It was getting to be, I just wanted to be home. As I say, when I was at the karaoke place, had fun, because all I had to do was get up and walk to the stage. That's all. But the getting there, because it was only like a 10-minute walk, but that was excruciating because of my back. And just things piling on top. What else happened? Let's have a look. And each day was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But okay, just told you about that. I'm skipping through them now, aren't I? Change. All right. So after all that, the main problem that I had then was, now I was living in fear, because how many episodes I'd had in the course of 10 months, not feeling well, not being able to walk, being in pain. And I sat down with my husband, and I said, I hate to say this, but I can't come back anymore. I can't do this anymore, because for the amount of time we had to walk, or we walked, compared to the time, we might spend, when we got to the karaoke, we might get there at 8 o'clock at night and leave at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if we went to a bar, you're probably in the bar. If it's a bar with music, and I don't drink, so it didn't matter where I was sitting, because I just drink. I alternate water and soft drink. But if you sit in the bar, again, you're probably there, because they shut about 2 o'clock. So we probably get there about 8, and anywhere between 1 and 2 we come home. So those times were good. Those times were great. But the time we spent walking and having to get from one place to another, it was just too much. So I said to my husband, I really think now we've got to the stage where it's all too much now, the walking, because there's no joy. And the minute you've got to start walking, that within 5 minutes of walking, it's serious pain. And if you know me, I am actually not a pill taker. I don't take drugs, and I'm not into pain. They had to almost force me to go on blood pressure meds, because I held out for years. Just like no, it's fine. But we have now made the decision that it breaks my heart, but my trip to Thailand in 2025 was the last trip that I will be making. I've said to my husband, because we always said as well, if we were both ready at the same time to stop traveling, we stop traveling. If one still wants to go and is still capable, the other person does not have a problem with them going away for a couple of weeks. And now too, at this point, when I think my husband is virtually not away from my sight. If he goes to the shop, if he does a supermarket run, he might be gone 2 hours. And that probably happens, say, maximum 3 times a week. And I'll stay home. Otherwise, I'm out with him. I'll go to the shops, blah, 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 blah. And I just figure, that man is so actually such a great person that I said, I don't care. Because he said, are you sure, And I knew what he was thinking. But I said, look, I'm happy for you. You can go with one of our kids. Go over there. Just because I'm ready to stop, it doesn't matter that I don't care that you still want to go. He may never go again. He's got health problems too. But if he wants to go, I don't have a problem. I am not now. He's already said as well, if I was at a point where I couldn't look after myself, then he would never leave me. But while I'm fit, I can get around. He doesn't mollycoddle me. He does, I don't need him to do for me. And so I'm healthy at the moment, and I would rather him go and have at least one more holiday, maybe two. And we were always planning to go with one of our sons, so just go ahead and do it. Every time I hear a song that I sing in karaoke, or I look at photos, or we watch on YouTube and we watch people that have excuse me, they're in Thailand, they're holidaying, or it pulls on the heartstrings, and I get teary-eyed, and I'm never going to be a karaoke queen again. And I love my karaoke. It does pull on my heartstrings, but I think a whole sensibility has to come into it someplace. And I think that I've pushed my luck a lot. And I think now that it is time to hang up the old travel thing for me. Yes, I can travel here in Australia. Spoiler, I've actually got no interest in traveling in Australia. We can't afford to travel in Australia. We can't afford to go back to England for a holiday. In Asia, it's quite relatively cheap, and we can afford. And we could, if we travelled for a week here in Australia with hotel, flights, if we went by car, we might only be able to go for a week, whereas in Thailand, we can go for 4 weeks. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And plus, we absolutely love the place. Absolutely. If we didn't have kids, I think we would live in Thailand. It's a fabulous place, fabulous people. We've never felt more. We feel safer walking around Thailand than we do here. But as I said, I think I've had quite a few warning signs this year, and I think definitely now I've pulled the plug and no going back. My time in my beloved Thailand is finished. So really, that brings us to the end of all the little videos I've just made telling you why I feel that 2025 was not a good year for me. However, on the plus side, I made it to 2026. That's pretty good. And I've come out in 2026 feeling mentally a bit better, maybe a lot better than I started 2026. And as I say, I never made videos. I had no interest. I've had not an interest in hardly anything. But I've realised now I've got to actually start forcing myself to do things, because I used to do, I've got a lot of things that I do, and but I haven't done anything this year. But I'm going to try to make that change. Thank you so much for following me on this journey. I know nothing really seems to happen a lot, and all I can do is just tell you how my life is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you, no, for goodness sake, don't listen to me when I say, you don't have to go off to the hospital every time you have it. You do what your doctor tells you. Don't listen to me. I live my life, and you have to do what's best for you. I hope that 2026 is going to be amazing for us all. I hope that we all get to 2027. And I want to say a big hello to all the carers, because they are so important. And I've always said that. Without our carers, I don't know where we would be. So, yeah. And, you know, I've got nearly nearly 750 subscribers. And that's amazing. Absolutely. But if you're watching this video and you're not actually subscribed, maybe you might like to click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you any money. I don't contact you. I don't send you stuff. I'll just pop up on to say there's a new video up now and again. This channel started off being about C.A.A, but I've got my story about vasculitis. I think a little bit about my hip surgery. I didn't ever put up about my spinal surgery because I think I put that on another channel that I've got. But anyway, Happy New Year. Try to stay safe. Thank you so much. And thank you for all your messages and emails and comments. And I was really bad last year. But also I went through the other day and I was going through and I see that there are some that I've actually missed. And I'm sorry for that. And I do try. So if you message me or a comment, I will get back to you. It just won't be probably quick. So if you've got a medical problem, please don't ask me about what you should do. You go see your doctor. But I'm happy for you to talk to me. I'm happy for you to whinge to me. And if I'm not feeling good, I won't read the comments. But I want you to have somewhere that you can talk about as well. And, if you're not already subscribed to a Facebook page, you might find them helping. I had to, if you look back at my other video, I told you why I had to unsubscribe and talked about my mental health last year. And I hope that you look at all the videos. Okay, thank you very much. And good luck to you. I'll see you on the next video. I'm not really sure because I've just sat here and made 4 videos, I think. All right. I'll see you later. Thank you, guys. God bless.